It was supposed to be Taylor Townsend's moment on a packed night at the US Open. Under the New York lights, the crowd roared her name, believing that this was finally the breakthrough, the victory that would etch her into history. She had the stage, she had the firepower, and most importantly, she had the belief. But what unfolded in this match against Barbora Krejicova was nothing short of shocking, heartbreaking, and unforgettable. From the very start, Townsend looked unstoppable. She stormed through the opening set 6-1, leaving Krejcikova searching for answers. The crowd fed on Townsend's energy, standing, clapping, roaring with every point she struck. This was the American underdog in her element. Fearless, confident, and playing with the kind of attacking style that makes fans fall in love with tennis all over again. At that moment, it looked like nothing could go wrong. But tennis has a cruel way of flipping a script. The second set was where the storm began to brew. Krejcikova, a former Grand Slam champion, refused to crumble. She steadied herself, holding serve after serve, grinding out rallies, and slowly silencing the roaring energy that had been flooding Arthur Ashe Stadium. Townsend still had her chances, but then came the moment that changed everything. The second set tiebreak. What followed was one of the most dramatic, nerve-shredding tiebreaks the US Open has ever seen. Point after point, the crowd gasped. Townsend earned not one, not two, but an astonishing 8 match points. The dream was right there, within touching distance. Every single time she stood behind the baseline with match point on her racket, the fans rose to their feet, praying for the fairy tale finish. And yet, each time, Krejcikova somehow found an answer. A fearless winner here, a clutch serve there. It was as if she was refusing to accept her own elimination. The tiebreak stretched on, 10-10, 11-11, 12-12. Fans could barely breathe. Then, at 15-13, it was Krejcikova who emerged victorious, snatching the set after saving 8 match points in a row. The arena fell into stunned silence. Townsend's face told the whole story: disbelief, heartbreak, and the weight of a moment that had slipped away. Still, there was one more set to play, and that's when the cruelest twist of all arrived. Krejcikova carried all the momentum into the third set. While Townsend tried to fight, the damage from that marathon tiebreak was written across her body language. Her shoulders dropped. Her energy, once electric, had drained. Meanwhile, Krejcikova broke her serve twice, controlling the rallies with the calmness of a champion who knew she had been given new life. The Czech star closed out the final set 6-3, completing a comeback that almost nobody believed was possible after that first set demolition. The final score, 1-6, 7-6, 6-3. But those numbers don't tell the story. They don't show the tears that welled up in Townsend's eyes as she walked to the net. They don't capture the standing ovation she received from the New York crowd, who knew they had just witnessed one of the most heartbreaking defeats in recent US Open history. Townsend hugged Krejcikova at the net, then sat in her chair, hiding her face as the emotions poured out. For fans, it was painful to watch, because this wasn't just a loss. This was a dream slipping away in the most brutal fashion possible. 8 match points, 8 opportunities to finish the job. And yet, tennis can be that unforgiving. The shockwaves of this match will be remembered for years, not just because of the scoreline, but because of the way it unfolded. Townsend had the win in her hands. The crowd believed. The energy was electric. And still, Krejcikova refused to be beaten. What makes it even more dramatic is the context. Townsend had been riding a wave of momentum at this year's US Open, with fans falling in love with her fearless style and fiery personality. She wasn't just competing, she was inspiring. And that's why the heartbreak cut so deeply. For her, for the fans, for anyone who has ever been so close to a dream only to watch it slip away in an instant. Meanwhile, Krejcikova's resilience must be acknowledged. Saving 8 match points is almost unheard of at this level of tennis. It takes nerves of steel, complete focus, and the refusal to give up when everything seems lost. She called it one of the greatest escapes of her career, and for good reason. Matches like this define champions. But for Taylor Townsend, this was the match that got away. The toughest loss of her career, she admitted, and it's hard to argue otherwise. Even after the tears, Even after the heartbreak, the New York crowd made sure she knew how much she meant to them. They rose to their feet one last time, clapping and chanting her name as she walked off the court, broken but admired, defeated but loved. This match will go down as one of the greatest dramas of the US Open, a reminder that, in tennis, nothing is guaranteed until the final ball is struck. That one moment can change everything. That sport can be beautiful, but it can also be cruel. For Townsend, it was a night of heartbreak. For Krejcikova, it was a night of survival and triumph. For the fans, it was a roller coaster of emotions they will never forget. And for the history of the US Open, it was a match that will be retold for years. The night Taylor Townsend had 8 match points against Barbora Krejicova and still lost. Sometimes sport gives us fairy tales. Other times, it gives us heartbreak. This was both all in one unforgettable night in New York City.